This is going to be one exciting week, and I've got Larry Goldberg here to help me sort through some of the things that are going to be happening, but I'm going to concentrate on two things primarily. Number one is Tesla was down today in an in a sideways market. It's kind of down and stayed down all day, and I was looking around for any kind of news, and the only thing I could come up with was that people believed Larry that Cybertruck was somehow not going to sell the low end models anymore. There was like 15 articles, headlines out there saying,
I said that?
"No, you didn't. No. That these headlines were out
Oh,
that
yeah.
the low end Cybertruck had been removed from the website, and there must not be any orders, and that the Cybertrucks, the foundation models and the $100,000 models, are just piling up in the wherever they pile up. I'm not sure where Cybertrucks even pile up. So this was everywhere. It was Barron's. It was places that you generally kind of respect. Did you have a chance to see any of the?
I did not. I had a really, really busy day. I had several several of my venture investments at reporting today.
Oh yeah,
Why it all occurred. What is the date? I guess mid-month.
yeah.
And had to pay attention to some of that, and had some of my some of the folks that I work with calling in. So it was a very busy day.
So the only real news that's out there on any of this, besides the fact that they have removed the lowest end model from consideration, from being able to place an order now, the only real news is that Tesla has opened up offers for the foundation and for the $100,000, I forget what they call it.
The beast.
The beast, yes, and you can buy these immediately. I mean, they're available like within 60 days, maybe 90 at the most. So, and these are not for people that already have reservations. These are for people that just decide tomorrow they want to do it. So, Larry, if that's what you knew, just what I just told you, that they've taken off the low one and they've made an offer for people to start buying the high end ones immediately. Would that cause you to believe that they just had tons of those high end ones available, and that's why they were doing this, even though they're talking about 2 to 3 months? And also, would it cause you to believe that maybe Tesla had given up on the low end? I mean, I just don't know.
Well, I mean, you can interpret it in multiple ways. The one way you can interpret it is that nobody's going to buy any more Cybertrucks and they're trying to give them away. The other way you can interpret it is that production is ramping, and they're now opening the order books. They're opening the order books at a higher level, at the foundation level. Obviously, they're not opening the order books at the levels that I think the mass market would want. But they're opening the order books to people who are prepared to pay and willing to pay the foundation level prices. So, from what I see, the foundation level products are going out, continuing to go out. I mean, if you look at the production, it's clearly ramping. We saw, very significant numbers coming out. But I think that they'll do fine. I think that what they're really striving to do is get production to a point where they can start dropping prices.
Right.
And that's very important. I mean, clearly, the Cybertruck is an expensive item to produce when you're producing 1,000 a month. When you're producing 20,000 a month, the costs are going to be very, very much lower. So that's where they're trying to get to.
Yeah, and the idea that somehow, and I mean, some of these articles even kind of intimated or suggested that somehow they used to have 1 million plus orders and now they must have evaporated somehow. It was like
I doubt they were evaporated, but I bet you a very large proportion of those orders are $60,000 orders.
Yeah, mine is. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, and everybody at the $60,000 level is waiting for the $60,000 level. So the question is, are there people at the $100,000 level that they can maintain? Because they'd love to maintain that $100,000 level, because I'm sure their costs are not, haven't got to the point that they're starting to reduce. So we'll see. I mean, I think this is going to be I think this is going to be the best-selling truck in the United States, in the world.
Right.
And I think it's only a matter of time. I mean, when people drive this thing, when people experience this thing, it's another level. It's just another level.
So, Larry, the other thing I wanted to spend some time on, and again, this is not a political channel, but you cannot not talk about Elon Musk interviewing President Trump
Oh, really? Is
tonight
he?
on Spaces. This has to be, Elon said that he spent, I guess, the last couple of days testing Spaces to make sure it's going to be able to handle the number of people that are going to be watching this. So my big question would be, Larry, what would you and I talked about this a minute the other day, but I'm curious now, what would you hope would be some of the main questions or the main things that they would talk about tonight?
Yeah. So, I was a never Trumper. But the Democratic Party really has disappointed me so dramatically in the last couple of years. And I don't want to get into the politics of it, but essentially, I am a free speech. I am a believer in all the democratic principles that I came to this country for originally. John Kennedy was my hero. I'm a scholar of the liberal, tradition. And I have a very strong belief, in all the things that, Elon talks about. Free speech means one thing to me. And this new interpretation of free speech is crazy. I'm a believer, a very, very passionate believer in equality, and equality of everybody. And not equality of outcome, but equality of opportunity, and in every sense of opportunity, from from the moment of birth to the end of life. I'm a believer in equality for everybody, regardless of creed, color, whatever. But so I am so strongly opposed to this, this breaking up of our polity into interest groups of color and of gender and of, I mean, it really shakes my world to see what has come of the liberal thought in this country and beyond, and in the Western world in general. So for me, as opposed as I was, and as, strongly opposed as I was to Trump, as because we've had these conversations, I am having to recalibrate. And, I mildly criticized Elon for being political, and he pushed back at me, very directly. So I understand his perspective and his point of view. I just wish that he weren't so passionate. He wasn't as passionate as I was, or was able to separate, the political from the public. But we are where we are, and I'm very fascinated to hear what he has to say. I will say that I think Trump is too old to be president. He's going to be 81 when he comes to the end of his term. Honestly, I think 75 is a hard cut for end of term, which means that if you want to be president, you shouldn't be older than 67 years of age, when you are inaugurated. Yeah, when you're inaugurated. So it means 65 is the cutoff for, nomination. In my, and I'm a 78-year-old, so I can speak with some experience. I know that I've lost a very significant amount of my intellectual powers at my age. So
But
So I have,
Larry, if you were running against Kamala, who's so much younger, it wouldn't be a contest in my mind. I'd put you in tomorrow. I mean,
yeah,
literally.
but I'm opposed to that because in 4 years' time, who knows where I'll be, you know, because at this age, it's extremely, I mean, let's be honest with each other. You know, I appreciate the humor of that situation. And I will say that I'm very disappointed in how the outcome. I mean, I did believe that President Biden should not have been elected. Again, he passed my age barrier, and he should not have been elected. It was clear to me that he was significantly impaired when he ran.
Mhm.
Not now, but when he
Right,
ran.
right.
And I've seen him decline very dramatically since he ran. And so I knew that it was going to be, you know, he was not going to make it. How it turned out was very disappointing, I think, to him and to me, that, you know, Kamala should just have, you know, simply assumed the crown. And, you know, it was done for political expediency, clearly. I'm sure I'm upsetting a lot of people, although not necessarily on your audience. But he simply doffed the cap and she took over. I have heard her answer questions not in a set speech with the teleprompters on either side of her, and she can't put a sentence together. She can't put a serious sentence together. And so she's simply representing the institution of the liberal wing of the Democratic Party, not the extreme liberal, but sort of the tending towards the extreme. And that's pretty bad.
No, no.
So for me, you know, this is a very difficult situation. Now, I'll be honest with you, I didn't vote in the last few elections because couldn't vote for Trump, didn't want to vote for Biden. So it was very difficult.
Yeah.
Now, I think I have to cast a vote against Kamala. And if it upsets people, you know, it's probably not right to actually expose one's political views, but there you are. We're
Well,
in that.
to your earlier point about Elon, if he wasn't as passionate as he is, and so outspoken
Yeah.
as he is, he would have never bought Twitter in the first place. If
Yeah,
he,
but where does this end? You know, I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
you look at tonight's exchange that he had with the theory of the EU,
Yes.
the socialist. Anyway, the EU. I should be
I've got
more
it. And by the way, we'll have an entire program covering that tomorrow with
okay.
Tesla Boomer Mama. We talk in
Oh,
detail
yeah.
about the letter from the EU and Elon's
Yeah.
response to the letter. So coming back to my original question, you were awfully political tonight, Larry, to just completely ignore my
Yeah.
question. Do you have anything at all specifically that you'd like Elon and President Trump to talk about tonight? Are there
Yeah,
issues?
I think I'd love Elon to try and set Trump right on issues of EVs. Trump's all over the map on EVs. He's crazy. You know, that's the thing with Trump. You know, he really believes that he has the ultimate truth in his head, and he doesn't read, he doesn't take in, you know, people's views. He doesn't what he comes up with these instinctual solutions. And so he believes that EVs are somehow, you know. Now, on the other hand, I think he's absolutely right to ban all support for EVs. I think EVs would do so much better in the open market. I think they'll do fine, absolutely fine.
Right.
And, you know, for me, you know, all this climate change tech, so let me stipulate. Firstly, I think we really need to work on our climate. I think the moment government gets involved and starts implementing these policies, we get the perversion of the policy. So I think the market will do fine. I think the market will do great with EVs. I think they'll do great with, and so anyway, that's my view.
So if Elon was to talk to him about the EVs and to help him to understand that the infrastructure is there to support it, that it's not going to destroy the grid, that Teslas are kind of in a class by themselves without necessarily.
You see, what you're saying to me now is exactly the point. It's all up to Elon to inform Trump, but
Yeah.
that's not the purpose of
Right.
tonight's exercise.
But you can answer the question that way.
Yeah, but you'll get a very unfortunate answer.
I see. Yeah. So I had I'm gonna forget his name now, Terry Keeley on my program the other day, and and I admit, and Terry, if you're listening, I'll admit to you, but I think you knew ahead of time, part of what I was hoping to do with Terry, because there's the whole right wing of the party, the whole, or the center of the Republican Party, the Midwesterners, etc., are against EVs. And so it's not so surprising that Trump is in that group, because all the people around him, and smart people that I respect, have that same darn opinion. And so there's ways to do the question that just, what do you want to call it, encourages the person to start thinking differently.
I think Elon has enough of Trump's ear, clearly, to be able to impart that information. And who knows that they haven't had that conversation.
Yeah.
It's not clear from his appearances that he's modified his view at all.
Except to say that because Elon's part of his support team now, that he's now saying that electric cars are okay.
He's kind of not. I mean, yeah, I mean, he is and he's not. And this is the problem. This is the problem with Trump. I mean, if I may say so, he's not grounded in a philosophy. He's grounded in his own personality. He believes in himself so strongly that whatever the opinion is that he comes out with is, from his perspective, the truth.
Yeah.
And in fact, he calls his software, his media company Truth or something, Truth Social. So, that just gives you a sense of the mindset.
Yeah, he is a pragmatist right through and through, not an ideologue in any way, shape, or form. He has a few things that he has a clear ideology about, but he's mostly a pragmatist. And according to lots and lots of sources, though, Larry, I will clap back on you a little bit. According to a lot of sources, the people that really know him well, he does ask whenever the issue is something that he really needs to make a decision on. He asks everybody he knows, everybody that he can find, really digs deep to try to find what are people that he trusts, what are they thinking about on various subjects. So that appears to be part of his character, which doesn't surprise me, because if you're going to run a company, or the companies that he has, and even the country, you do need to have that kitchen cabinet, or those folks that are.
Yeah. But I'm skeptical. Color me very skeptical, because I don't think he ran his companies very well, to be honest with you. Yeah, ultimately he, through several bankruptcies, he succeeded. But I have a very, very strong aversion to the way he did business. In fact, the reasons that I was a never Trumper was because he stiffed all his small vendors. And to me, there's nothing worse.
Yeah.
There's a lack of character.
Yeah, I've tried to, kind of slightly look into that. I haven't been able to find, how do you do the research on that? Because you could have 4 small vendors who say, hey, he stiffed me. And then if you really dig into it, you find out, well, you didn't do the work, or you did the work, so badly that you never know about these things.
Vendors I know are very, very good people.
Oh, so these are people you were personally associated with?
Oh yeah, they are.
Yeah.
And they're people who are very successful in their businesses. And they're not tiny businesses. They're a couple of million to 5 million. Maybe some are even $10 million. But I mean, these guys can't afford to, take on $1 million project with Elon, pay the cost of.
You mean with Trump?
I mean, yeah, with Trump, and then deliver the goods and not get paid. I mean, this really, really hurt.
Yeah. So in the other part I was hoping for, which is similar to what you're talking about, I am almost as passionately interested in a new grid as I am in EVs.
Right.
In the idea of distributed energy grids as opposed to
Yes.
centralized.
We've discussed it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I have a sense once again that this is something that hasn't made it up to that level of consideration within the Republican Party. Maybe not in the Democratic Party either, because I don't really hear anybody talking about it in a philosophical kind of, this is how we need to redo the grid. So again, dropping the beginnings of hints in a public forum like this, I would think would be a really smart thing. That's just me.
Gone are the days of a Clinton or a George W. Bush or a Reagan or, even a Kennedy, where these policy issues were really delved into. Gone are those days. Now it's all political posturing at every level, and there's this gigantic administrative state under every president, layer upon layer upon layer upon layer, because every new regulation brings another layer. It's not as if it's another little group. The little group needs management, the management needs a manager, so there's a whole new layer. And so we have these, extraordinarily deep layers at guiding and advising the president. And so policy seldom makes its way up through the layers to the president and down from the president back to the layers. There's all these political layers in between that, corrupt this thing. So you're not going to get, an issue like the grid being dealt with by these politicians, in my judgment.
Yeah. So anything on other subjects? Do we want them to get involved in the conversation about free speech, about the administrative state and other countries even now, really just in every way, shape, or form chilling the rights of some people to speak out? Because that seems to be what there's even now articles in mainstream media talking about the chilling effect having on Republicans. So they don't even say Democrat, they say Republicans are afraid to speak out.
Well, the reality is that whether it's a left-wing mainstream media publication or a right-wing mainstream media publication, all opinion has been institutionalized into this current, speak of the day. And so, in Britain, it's become extreme. In the EU, it's been extreme for a while, but it's getting even more extreme. And the United States is an attempt to actually, even though it's enshrined in our Constitution, Second Amendment, First Amendment, sorry, although enshrined in the First Amendment, it's observed more in the breach, and so the result is it's really under fire, and I just don't see how we reverse it. It needs such leadership, and we're definitely not getting that leadership, right now. Now, is Trump prepared to fight for it? I don't see it. I don't see him talking about it. I don't see him expressing it. He's talking about all the legal, jeopardy he's been placed in. He's talking about, the arming of the law against him and all of that. But it all boils down to this issue of free speech, and he's not championing it. So it's under great pressure. And so when Elon pushes back against me and says, you don't understand, it's free speech and I've got to stand up for it, I think, he has a point.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see what happens on that conversation tonight. I'm expecting it to be kind of a all in podcast type of a conversation. A sit back and just converse. No.
By the way, I will say this: I was very impressed with your guy, with Mr. Trump, on the all-in conversation.
Yeah.
I thought he did an outstanding job.
Yeah,
and really it kind of had a real impact on me.
Yeah. No, I think that's so, and I know that Trump prefers that kind of a interview process. So hopefully that's the kind of thing we're going to see tonight. So Larry, we have, as I said, a wild week ahead of us. And we've seen, I don't know if you know, again, you said you were really super busy all day today, but the situation in the Middle East is starting to get a little dicey again. The U.S. is moving a lot of hardware into the region, and Iran's making some noise. So the price of oil did bounce up pretty significantly today, but it's only back to 80. But it's still, for Texas Intermediate.
That's up.
That's up. That's up like $4 like in one day. Although I should really double check that, because that's what I read and I didn't actually see it. So I think it would be wise for me not to stay with that number without actually seeing it for myself. Let's see here. We got okay, it's not quite 80, but that is, yeah, it's 79.68, and it was over 80 for Texas Intermediate. So that's pretty significant. So that's not a good thing. Now, again, if it's only jumped up because of the Middle East threat, then that wouldn't necessarily impact inflation long term. But obviously, we're hoping that the PPI and CPI come in not too hot the next 2 days.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts about what might be going on the next couple of days with that?
Yeah, I think I don't think that we're going to get a upside surprise, upside being downside,
right?
Surprise, an inflationary surprise. I think it's going to be muted. That's my thought.
Right.
I think that the market's going to continue to equivocate until we get clarity on the next round of on a round of cuts of any nature. So I think we can take a breath until that happens, and we'll see.
Yeah. Bank of America said today that they don't agree with you and me. They think there's not going to be a recession. After believing there was going to be a recession all of 2023, they said we do not see a recession. Now, even as they said that, what I consider to be one of the last pins to drop is that travel and leisure is starting to take a little bit of a of a downward trend here, in particular among the poorest half of the population. Have you changed your theories at all since we talked on Friday?
I've seen no indication that people are willing to, dip further into their pockets. I think a lot of people are being as cautious as they can be. So I don't see it. I mean, as rates come down, there's going to be a lot of property activity, and that will offset some of the bad stuff that's happening. But I think the manufacturing operations in this country are hurting really badly. We now have 150 days of inventory at dealerships
On the cars.
on cars. And so whatever the car sales that the auto industry has been reporting is just, ephemeral. It's sitting on the dealers' lots, 150 days of it, 150 days. What would you have done? I mean, you would have come home and shot yourself through the head if you'd had 150 days of inventory on your shop floor.
Yeah. No, you in manufacturing, theoretically you're shooting for a minimum of 5 turns and hopefully way more than that.
Yeah. Here we're talking about 2 turns
Yeah, 2 turns. Yeah,
of an item that they're making 7% margin on.
right. Yes.
Think about it.
Yes, and I was in 50% margins.
Exactly.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
Oh, Larry. Okay, so let's take a quick look at the numbers and then we'll get off and listen to Mr. Trump and Mr. Musk. So we've got the Dow was down 140. The NASDAQ managed to scrape together a win at 35 points up. S&P barely, well, you just call that even for the day. Tesla down $2.51, pretty much where it was all day, right around $3 down. A little bit up in the after hours, 32 cents. Yeah, and the rest of the Magnificent Seven today was mixed. NVIDIA did very well today. I believe they're starting to move towards that earnings call.
I made a move on NVIDIA last week.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I did.
If I had dry powder, I might have done the same thing today.
Well, I did last week. I think I have to credit AJ with this.
Oh, yeah.
You know, his research is really outstanding.
Yeah. He's doing
I normally don't trust other people's research, but this time I took it on trust.
There you go. All right. So then let's see here. Let's take a look at those bonds. What am I doing here? Okay, here we go. All right. So we've got the bonds did they did manage to go down today. We don't have anything yet. Well, that's odd. Well, maybe there's a problem with the app because we should at least have the 10-year at 4 o'clock California time. But I got nothing. I got no changes at all showing right now. We already talked about oil. Natural gas has been so volatile. I don't know why natural gas is being so volatile, but it's been all over the place around the $2 level. Right now, it's above $2 again, but it's down a full percentage after hours.
According to this, 10-year Treasury yields rise slightly as investors assess path for rate cut.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. 1 basis point.
1 basis point. In the pre-market, they're up 1 basis point.
Yeah.
Okay. You've got gold up 10. So back, well, but that's in the pre-market, Larry. I don't even have the numbers for earlier today. It's back over 2,500. It's at 2,514. So we're going back towards all-time high in that one.
Yeah.
Silver still saying under at $28, not hitting that $30 mark. And copper picking up again back over $4 after having been under $4 for a few days. So yeah, it's all over the place. It's just all over the place. I guess really, would you look up the VIX for me while we're
yeah, I can.
this? Okay, we've got the dollar down again, barely down against the yen and barely up against the euro. Call those close to even. Bitcoin down 469, staying under 60.
VIX is up very slightly, 20.71, up 0.34. So, I mean, it's not moving seriously.
Today, yeah. Okay, but it's been around 20, 21, 22.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's for the pre-market on the equities. We've got not much movement. I would call it, you call this is about as flat as you can get. The NASDAQ futures unchanged. That's flat.
Yeah, if the VIX doesn't move, then something would have to move it. Yeah.
S&P 75 cents up, and the Dow up $16 or 0.04%. So I would call that just about as flat and giving us no idea of what to expect tomorrow. What I know you don't play the days, but you've been doing this a very long time. How close to 1010 do we need to get before you think the FOMO will start?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question because the FOMO is always offset by the after event, dip.
Of course, yeah.
So the FOMO generally starts a couple of weeks before, as I recall it. Yeah.
So it's like NVIDIA now about 10 days before it's It's starting.
Yeah, yeah. You know, if you believe AJ, it's going to spike
Yeah,
on results. I think there are some problems with that. I mean, I I took his analysis. The only thing is that I do know that they've, you know, that there's some key chips that they're delayed on, and I don't know how the market will react, and I don't know what they'll reveal in terms of
right,
that.
right.
So
Yeah,
there's some risk. There's some significant risk in terms of the
delay.
dating.
Yeah,
Yeah, the dating. Um, on Tesla on 1010, I, I don't know that what he says is going to move the market unless they actually do a wide release of 12.5. And they said they're starting a wide release today, but it won't include the hardware 3 cars. It'll only be the hardware 4 cars.
oh, okay,
So, and they're doing a wide release of it on all 4 models, not including the Cybertruck.
right,
So I think if that release goes out and if there's testing of a new release in time for 1010, which I expect there to be,
right.
and it solves some of the some of the key problems, that could be, you know, a pretty exciting period. And of course, you know, who turns up on 1010, you know, which Elon Musk turns up on
Yeah, right.
1010. A lot will turn on that.
Yeah, so it seems like as usual, all of it takes way too long, and we're all too impatient. Of course, except for you, Larry. You're very patient. And or at least you encourage us to be patient. We don't know what's really going inside us. So there's a uh, feature complete. Seems like it's right on the verge. Going onto the Cybertruck is supposed to be right on the verge. And if we have feature complete, now it's really just a matter of improving those edge cases and
Yeah.
proving all those new features. So
Feature complete means that it'll have to be a single stack highway and getting the single stack to highway means that there's probably going to be a few bumps in the road,
so
literally. And then we have to solve actual, you know,
some in reverse, those, yeah.
yeah, I mean, parking, um, you know, what is the summon actual smart summon, parking. Um, that's, you know, that's really the key features. I don't know that there's any other feature missing. And it seems that they are on the verge of those features. So when we do get feature complete, there will be a big change in the recognition of revenue. So that's important. Yep, you're right. I mean,
So
it's fast.
I mean, the optimist in me says we could really have a darn good product by 1010. So you would have the combination of a very good product and the information about what's going to happen with robotaxi to the extent that they can reveal it. And of course,
I don't want to put a hex on all of this, but we may end up going to a 12/12 date.
don't even start.
Lose our entire audience.
Yeah, no, you've not. Yeah, you won't even be allowed back on X tomorrow. You'll be X'd from X. You have to sit in the corner for a few days.
All right, Randy, it's been
Thank
fun.
you so much. It's always great to have you on. And if we don't talk, we'll talk again on Friday. It's been great talking to all of you.